What's up, folks? It is time for my player ratings after Liverpool beat West Ham by 1-0. The scoreline sounds like it was a rather drab affair, but it wasn't. It was an incident-packed game, and I'm going to take you through my thoughts of those players in red, and of course, of this beautiful gentleman here, Alisson Becker, as well. Let me know your thoughts on my player ratings and on the game in general in the comment section. Drop a like, and of course, hit that subscribe button as well. No better place to start today, my friends, than with Liverpool's number one, with Alisson Becker, who I think it's fair to say bailed his teammate out today. That challenge from Gomez was rather rash, to say the least, on Jarrod Bowen, and I think the referee was absolutely spot on to award the penalty. Thankfully, Alisson Becker had done his homework, and I don't want to say it was a poor penalty from Bowen, because it wasn't. It was a great save from Alisson Becker, and cometh the hour, cometh the man. I love Ali. We're so blessed to have him as our goalkeeper. And yet, like any keeper, he'll have the odd mistake in him, but ultimately, he's a difference maker. And today, he was the difference between Liverpool maybe having 1 point and Liverpool having 3 points. So, Alisson Becker, you get yourself a beautiful 9 today, sir. Well done. We look forward to more great performances moving on. Next one up, Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think it was an improved display from Trent today. Certainly, I'm not going to start going through and talking about any chance that came down the right-hand side, because I feel like that's what some people are trying to do now with regards to Trent. It was improved. It wasn't perfect, but there was some great tracking back. There was some good blocks from crosses. Yes, there's still a little bit of ball watching at times, and we do need to work on that. But today I thought Trent was rather solid. So 7 today for Trent, and hopefully he continues to get better and better and get back to the levels that we know he's capable of. Joe Gomez. This was a game that was quite far removed from the man of the match performance against Manchester City. Joe Gomez could have cost us a couple of goals today for different reasons. One was a rash challenge on Jarrod Bowen, an unnecessary challenge. I understood what he was trying to do. He was trying to just get a foot on the ball before Bowen could get a touch on it. But ultimately, Bowen wasn't really going to go anywhere from the position that he was in. So we ended up conceding a penalty, which thankfully Alisson saved. But another incident which caught my eye today, and look, I know I'm only pointing out the bad stuff that he's done. I'm sure there were incidents in the game where he defended well, but these are things I'd like him to work on. So the rashness of that challenge being one. But the incident where the ball went up in the air and it was clearly caught by the wind or something, and there was no communication between Alisson and Gomez stood there and allowed the ball to drop straight to a West Ham player. I think it was Ben Rama, who side-footed a volley, thankfully straight at Alisson. That can't happen. He needs to be more aware of what's going on around him. So for me today, Joe Gomez gets himself a 5. Move on to Virgil Van Dyke. Did everybody else notice the little turn of pace in the first half when he was in a foot race with Jarrod Bowen? That was a lovely moment for me, seeing Virg turn the afterburners on and get there ahead of Bowen. And look, again, it's difficult to critique defenders in a performance where we've won and we've kept a clean sheet. And I thought Virg did magnificently well today. So I'm going to give Virgil van Dijk a 7 today. Certainly the better of our two centre-halves for this particular game. Kostas Tsimikas. Let me start off with a good. Kostas' delivery for Darwin's header was quite simply sublime. And what I took from that was how quickly he got the ball down and out of his feet and crossed. It didn't give a chance to get a block in, and it didn't give a chance for the West Ham defence to set themselves, and it was on a sixpence. Darwin did the right thing, headed it down into the ground, and it bounced up into the corner, but it was all about that delivery from Kostas. So for that, brilliant. After that, still some work to do for me for Kostas, and I think if it was a straight shootout now between him and Robbo, and you're asking me who gets the shirt for the next game, I'm giving it to Andy Robertson. But that being said, some promising signs from Kostas, so I'm going to give Kostas a 6 today for his performance. Moving into midfield, El Capitan Jordan Henderson, and I have to admit, I'm going into every game with Henderson now, and I'm having to ask myself, am I being too kind? Am I being too harsh? I'm second guessing myself on everything Henderson does. But I think the biggest compliment I can give him at the minute is, if we have to have somebody in there to play alongside Thiago in a 2, I prefer it being him than Fabinho at this moment in time. I think we still need to address the midfield issue, and I still think Jordan Henderson's best days are most likely behind him, but I do think it's the right decision that Klopp's making, going with him over Fabinho at the minute, because Fabinho just hasn't gotten up to the levels that he has been at. So for Hendo today, I'm going to give him a solid 7. Moving on to this man. Look at him. I feel like he's smiling at me in that picture, you know. Thiago, what a man. And a shaved-headed Thiago as well. I love Thiago in this role because he does the dirty work. He loves putting himself about, always disrupts the play in midfield, can pick out a pass. I love him. I love him to bits. He's one of my favourite footballers to ever grace a Liverpool shirt. So for me, Thiago Alcantara, take yourself an 8 today, sir, and enjoy that 8 because it's well deserved. Moving on to Bobby Firmino. We've seen the good side of Firmino recently, and today at times we've seen the frustrating side of Bobby Firmino. He missed a really good opportunity when he went for the near post and put it wide, but I can forgive him for that, of course. What does annoy me and wind me up is his pass selection, or I should say his mis-selection of passes, because I don't know what he's trying to execute sometimes. He plays the simple passes either too far in front or too far behind, and when he was trying to pick out Darwin today, in the first half, there was one incident where he put it way too far ahead of him, and another one he played it so close to him that hit off his ankles as he was looking to run through. So look, I'm not going to be overly harsh on Bobby because he has been very good recently, but today I'm going to give Bobby Firmino a 6. Now, even in a Bobby Firmino quiet game, I love the link-up play from Bobby. He is that man that comes and links up from midfield to attack. Mohamed Salah, not brilliant from Mo today, but not anonymous. Some people in our chat were saying that he was nowhere to be seen today. I don't know what they were watching. In that first half, he had some really good stuff. And some shots, yes, he could have done better with. The big chance for him probably came when he had that touch in the second half to bring him through one-on-one with Fabianski, but it was a bit heavy. And in fairness to Mo, after the heavy touch, he did well to even get there before the keeper, let alone have time to actually do something with the ball. But again, he puts in a shift, and I think having him on the pitch is going to get the best out of Darwin, and vice versa, I hope as well. So Mo today, I'm going to give a solid 7 to. Wasn't his best performance in a Liverpool shirt, but certainly wasn't his worst either. Fabio Carvalho, somebody who I've been very much looking forward to seeing getting a run in the Liverpool first team, and some very good stuff today from him. But he does need to work on his upper body strength, and that will come as he gets older naturally, as well as of course with the work with the Liverpool medical department and sports science and nutrition team. But there's a lot to admire about this guy, and he doesn't look out of place. That's the biggest compliment I can give him, whether it's in a game against West Ham or whether it's in a game against Manchester City. He always looks like he belongs out there, and there will be a lot of better days ahead. So I'm going to give him a 6 in this performance, which might seem a bit critical, but I do think he has a ceiling that is far higher than a lot of people even believe. I really am expecting him to explode onto the scene in the next few years. So I'm trying to be a bit cagey now so I can laud him in the future. Hope that works. We move on to this man, my man of the match. I know that Amazon Prime and Ali McCoy gave it to Declan Rice, who had a very good game in the engine room for West Ham. But this man was my man of the match, and I think we'll all agree that we looked a different team when he went off. We never looked as likely to attack or break down West Ham. They took confidence after he went off. And look, whilst I understand the need for Jurgen Klopp to make the changes because of the sheer volume of games that we have coming up, I would have liked him to have gotten another 10-12 minutes before the change. I would have thought maybe 70 minutes would have been the right time to do it. But ultimately, Klopp rolled the dice by making the changes, and it worked. It paid off. Now, when I say it paid off, I will admit we got lucky at times. I will admit that West Ham have every right to think they should have left Anfield with a point tonight. But I also don't care because we won. So Darwin was my man of the match. Took his goal amazingly well. Forced a wonderful save from Fabianski as well. Darwin Nunez, you got yourself a 9, fella. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of those types of performances. Now we move on to the substitutes. Fabinho, look, we love him, but he's struggling for form at the minute. And there were occasions again today where I was just confused as to what we were seeing from him. I hope he can get back to his brilliant best because I love the guy. He's a really good fella by the looks of it as well. And when he plays well, our midfield looks seamless. But unfortunately, he hasn't been at his own level. So look, I'm going to give him a 6. I'll be interested to see what you guys give him. Elliott. Tough one to gauge for Harvey Elliott today because again, he came into the game like Fabinho at a time where we went downhill. Not because he came on, but because the momentum was lost. And Elliott will have many, many, many great days ahead of him. Many great goals to be scored. And look, I don't really know how to gauge his performance because we weren't great, as I said, once he came on. So look, I'm going to be fair and go with a 7. And I have to admit here, I'm kind of sitting on the fence because he's the player today I'm struggling to grade. And there's always one or two in a game which I really struggle to. And I'm trying to err on the side of caution. So look, let me know how right or wrong you think I am with that one. Robbo. Great to see Robbo back to Robbo. And by that I mean you can see the tenacity back in his game. He seems a little bit more composed than when he seemed to be kind of searching for form. And Costas was an able deputy when Robbo was out. But I gotta say, right now I think the shirt should be Andy Robertson's. They both have similar attributes and also have different things about them that I like. They defend in a slightly different way. Costas is a bit more on the front foot, trying to nip in ahead of people, whereas Robbo is a bit more of an old school defender and just takes his man one-on-one. So look, Robbo's performance when he came on, again, he was part of a team that kept a clean sheet, but ultimately difficult to gauge, so I'm sitting on the fence again with a 7. Curtis Jones should have scored, let's be honest, should have scored, but great to see him on the road back to recovery after some time out with an injury. I think we all want Curtis Jones to do well, and Klopp clearly sees something in Curtis Jones, but again, I would be lying to you if I said that I think we've seen the development in Curtis Jones that we'd all hoped or expected. There's still a long way to go for me with Curtis Jones between now and the end of the season, when I think maybe Klopp will have to make a decision about what is best for his future. So with that in mind, I'm going to give him a 6 from today's performance. And look, I'm not going to be critical of him because he is only working his way back from injury. James Milner. No better boyo to see out a game of football than James Milner, and that proved very, very true today. Look, we all sometimes scratch our heads when we see the substitutions being made and Milner's name up there, but watch that game and tell me that James Milner didn't really help us out in seeing that game out. I mentioned in my other video, it kind of reminded me of shades of the Barcelona game where he came across on that far side and just ran the clock down. He was at it again today. He is a leader of men. And I do have nothing but immense respect for Jimmy Milner. So I'm going to give Jimmy a 7. No, I'm going to give him an 8 for his cameo performance today. Yeah, I'm going to give him an 8. Because I feel like he did a bit more than Harvey Elliott. I gave him a 7. So I'm going to go with an 8 for Milner. That's it. That's my player ratings. I wondered if Connor had snuck Jurgen Klopp in at the end, but he didn't. So look, ultimately, Darwin was my man of the match. I do think that West Ham could potentially have got a point, but I'm glad that they didn't, and we move on to the game against Forest. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Appreciate your time as always. Much love. Bye bye.